Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your hosts, TB Scouting MMA and
The Guru back again for UFC 293. Israel, the stylebender Adesanya taking on Sean Strickland to defend his middleweight title. And we've got a banger from down under, Tai Tuivasa taking on Alexander Volkov. But before we can get into this crazy card, we've got a very special guest in the building. Bookies be blocking his face out. Don't let him in the casinos. You guys all know him from the Magic and Andrew MMA betting show. This guy's been killing it. Third-party tracking over on MMA Knockout Bets, Bet MMA Tips. Make sure you're checking him out because he's a certified winner. Andrew Gombas, welcome back, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me. I've been on a cold streak lately, so I'm so ready to break it, man. I've just been grinding, looking forward to this card and the ones we got coming up. So appreciate you guys having me.
The CLV King himself in the building, blessing us with his presence. Hey, listen, so you never change the formula, though, and that's something that I think you've learned. And you're probably a bigger testament to that. Just because the results maybe haven't been your way the last couple weeks, couple cards, right? You don't change up what you're doing. You don't change up what brought you to the dance.
No, not at all. I was actually just having this conversation with a friend this morning who played professional baseball. He's like, it's the same thing when you're going through a slump. Like the people who really screw themselves up are the ones who try to like change their swing and try to change their approach. But the ones that get out of slumps are just doing what got you there. And I mean, this is my 6th year doing this, and I've had 2 or 3, let's call it 3, really bad runs. And every time I've come out of it just doing the exact same thing I was doing when I was losing. So it's just the formula that I've kind of come up with and built and rebuilt time and time again over the years. It's just what I'm going to stick with going forward. It's what got me this far, and hopefully it's what gets me back on track starting soon.
I would imagine, Joe. And hey, sorry, TB, and us being here, maybe we can help, tune that up because we're doing all right at the moment. We're doing all right at the moment, right, TB?
Yeah, I would say it's like we were talking about before we get on the show, a little bit of consistency and sticking the path and really loving the process. So without further ado, I mean, if you guys aren't already, you're making a mistake. Go check out the Magic and Andrew MMA betting show. Hilarious. Also elite as far as like high level takes go. And
thank you.
And muting yourself while you're talking? What just happened?
I thought that was me. I was like, oh shit.
You're still muted, TB. We got nothing from you. Look at the frazzle on his face. The fear. Nope, nothing, bud. Nope, now you're muted. My goodness. Nope, you're nothing.
Maybe your mic unplugged?
Did your mic unplug?
No, it says you're muted.
Now you're muted. Do you have low T? What's happening? Has the semen retention been catching up with you? What is happening? You're still the thing says you're muted.
Yeah, exactly.
There he is. Hey.
Stepped on the cord to my microphone by accident, came unplugged, complete rookie mistake. But what I was going to say, if you aren't doing it already, follow those guys. They're amazing. Magic and Andrew, MMA betting show. And if you aren't doing it so far, please like and subscribe to our channel. We have all the fun bloopers and all the good times here. Low tips and retention involved. So, anywho, really appreciate all you guys joining the show. We wouldn't be doing it without you. Honestly, being a part of the MMA community is amazing. And having sharp people like Andrew on the show is only going to help continue to make us better. So we keep the consistent grind up, and we're here. We've got Israel, the last stylebender, Adesanya versus the American Psycho, Sean Strickland, minus 650 for the reigning champion. Sean Strickland at plus 470. The over 4.5 at minus 105, under 4.5 minus 125. I quite simply just think Israel Adesanya can style his way to victory here. Yep. Sean Strickland doesn't react well to feints. He goes to parry everything. And I think Adesanya uses that to his advantage. I think he knocks him out, but he has the ability to play with his food. So I'm not too confident on a prop, but I would say Adesanya and probably like rounds 2, 3, and 4 is kind of my prediction, using the leg kicks to chop him down and working up top. But I got some bias. Adesanya is one of my favorite fighters. So am I talking crazy here? I parlayed him a little bit earlier. I got a little CLV action last week, put him in like a 4-leg parlay. So we'll see if you guys agree with the general idea. You'll still be able to get plus money. There's a lot of chalky favorites, and Adesanya is just one of them I'll be using. So Guru, I mean, do you like my ideas from a prop perspective? What are you thinking here?
What an interesting fight, right? Because Sean Strickland is somebody that is just going to kind of keep coming forward and doesn't really give a fuck. Like it's kind of it's kind of what we were just talking about. It's the secret that got him to the dance, but it's also something with one of the most dangerous counter strikers to ever grace MMA could probably be problematic for him. You know, you'd have to think our guy Eric Nixick be drawing up something special for him. He's just not a guy that's gonna stick to the game plan. I have a feeling that in Sean Strickland's mind, he's coming in this like ready to cash a big fat check, ready to just go fight for the belt, and just gonna go out there and give no fucks. Like he's not gonna come out there, be conservative, try to keep it cool. I think he's gonna try to put it on Izzy. It'd be so interesting if he like tried to clinch him or try to grapple him a little bit, because we all know he has the ability to do it. It's just, will he bring himself to do it? I find myself liking Izzy in over 1.5, but at the end of the day, like I really think Izzy ends up getting the KO at some point, because like I'm saying, I just think that Sean's just going to keep coming forward. I don't see it as one of a more pitter patter type of fight where they're point fighting. Like I think they're gonna swing. And yeah, like I said, I think Sean puts himself in too many bad positions defensively while striking with his famous cocksucker guard. And I think like you so appropriately put, TB, that the way that he bites on feints, he's never really fought somebody like, I mean, there is nobody like Izzy, right? So that's fucking cop
Well,
out.
the one time he did, it was Pereira, and he got knocked.
Right, thank you.
Knocked out in
Exactly.
the first.
Exactly. So part of me thinks that Mr. Gombas might be taking a shot on Sean Strickland here, because and I get the value side, because plus 470 against a guy that's not washed. Like, I mean, should Sean Strickland be a plus 470 really against anybody? The line has just run away. So like I said, I think you can parlay Izzy in over 1.5 at like minus 250 or something. But I kind of like what I did last week with Cyril Gahn, even though I switched my pick after the pod. I took Cyril Gahn round 2, 3, 4 KO grouping, and I kind of like that idea here. Gombas, Andrew, buddy, what do you think?
Yeah, no, you guys nailed it. I think Adesanya justified big favorite here. It's funny, when this fight got announced, I was hoping to get Adesanya at like minus 250. In my head, I'm like, all right, he was a pick'em versus Pereira. He's won a few in a row. Like, Adesanya maybe hasn't looked the best he ever has in his last few fights. But now this line came out. Adesanya, big favorite. For me, it's hard to, like, I typically don't lay big prices unless someone has like a very, very significant grappling edge, just because striking tends to be higher variance and there's less chance of someone who's only going to strike to cover a big price tag. Obviously, Strickland, he's going to come forward. He's going to pressure. He puts up a lot of volume, has the cardio to do it for 5 rounds. I think him coming forward is going to play into Adesanya's game a little bit. Adesanya being one of the better counter strikers in the sport. I think another huge key here is going to be the leg kicks of Adesanya. Strickland kind of stands straight up, comes forward. He has that boxing heavy stance. I think Adesanya is going to chew his leg up. I tend to think Adesanya finds a finish as well. Just a little spooked on playing the under here. I thought about it initially, just because there's times where Adesanya just seems very, very content to maybe like throw a couple of kicks, dance around, back up a little, throw a couple more kicks, and win like a ho-hum 49-46 decision, kind of like the Cannonier fight. I think Cannonier and Strickland are relatively similar fighters in the sense that they're both primarily good strikers, but they're more come forward style, whereas Adesanya is more of like a counter striker. He's much better of a kicker than Strickland. Strickland, good boxer. I guess maybe you could say has a little bit of grappling upside, but I really don't think you could allocate more than a couple percentages to it. just because he hasn't shown any kind of reliability to do that. So I'm picking Adesanya. I tend to think he gets it done inside the distance.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, 100%. Don't hate it. And just so everybody knows, that line on Adesanya round 2, 3, 4 KO grouping is plus 220 on FanDuel.
Yeah, I love that price for that idea when you're talking about a minus 650 favorite. So any last words before we...
If it gets to round 5, I don't want a piece of the KO anyway. Unless it's not going to be Izzy, Alex Pereira again, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, I like exactly where that happens.
Amazing. So we're moving right along. And if you people haven't already, in the description of
the
video...
What do you mean, you people?
You people.
You mean, you people?
You people, you know,
you mean you
Mr.
people?
Tropic Thunder. But Mr. Gombas, Andrew's links are all in the description. So if you're trying to get his betting content weekly, or if you're trying to follow him on Twitter, make sure you go ahead, check out the description, and do yourself a favor. We're going to move on to our co-main event. We got Tai Tuivasa versus Alexander Drago Volkov. Plus 205 on the hometown favorite. Not, I guess, betting favorite, but the hometown favorite, Tai Tuivasa, plus 205. Volkov at minus 250. The over 1.5 at minus 115. Under 1.5, also minus 115. So what is going to happen in this fight? I mean, I know Volkov wants to keep the distance. He's going to want to, use his length to his advantage here. And even if it gets in the pocket, we've seen him he melted Jairzinho in the pocket. He's able to put the finish on, a lot of his recent opponents. It's just when you start to break it down into a little bit more detail, Volkov's Romanov finish. I mean, Romanov couldn't have looked any worse in that fight. Rosenstrike, similar type of idea. When you talk about getting in the pocket and exchanging against such a big guy, I mean, Rosenstrike has melted there. That was probably Volkov's best win. But the Overeem finish and the Harris finish, I mean, he's kind of just doing what he's expected at that point. I feel like Tai Tuivasa, you need to put him out. You need to put him to sleep, or absolutely mutilate his body over extended periods of time. But that also requires you to stay safe from distance against Tai Tuivasa, and he can close it quickly. He's got big calf kicks. I just envision this fight ending inside the distance, but they have the over under at 1.5. In that case, if I think either guy's live for a knockout, I got to go for the better knockout artist. And at plus 205, I think that you're getting some value on the hometown guy that doesn't have to travel. Volkov been in Vegas for this camp, so it's not like he's even coming from Russia. And Tai Tuivasa been back at home. He doesn't have to travel to Fight Island, right? So I think it's worth a chance. But in hindsight, if it's the third time in a row that Tuivasa is getting melted by high-level strikers, you probably shake your head. But I think it's worth the shot, knowing that Volkov's going to need to flat put him out and survive over 3 rounds. I just don't feel overly confident in a straight pick on this side, but I'm going to go with Tuivasa. I think it's the fun way to go.
I really don't blame you for not having high confidence in a straight pick here, because it's heavyweight MMA, which is probably some of the highest variance MMA that you're going to get. And then when you start lining a heavyweight fighter minus 250, minus 350, you start getting these steep numbers on heavyweight MMA. I don't like it, especially because of that variance. Go check back on Tuesday night to the Dana White Contender Series. Go check back yesterday. See what happened. Minus 800 heavyweight guy. It doesn't matter. You get into a firefight with somebody, you can get chin checked. So you look at somebody like Volkov, and my big knock on Volkov has always been his relative low output when he should probably have a little bit more. And the fact that kind of coinciding with this low output is that he wants to maintain you at range. He wants to maintain distance, but doesn't really throw enough output to keep you there. Then you look at somebody like Tuivasa, who is a self-proclaimed street fighter, somebody that wants to come out there, swang and bang, get close, push you up, get fucking physical with you and fuck around, right? He's going to make you have, like you said, TV, he's going to make you have to put him out. Look at how long Gon took to put him out, picking him apart, how safe he had to be, vicious body work.
Only got to drop Gon, right?
Right. And Gon still got caught bad.
There were multiple sequences in the fight.
Exactly. I'm not sure that I'm sold on Drogo beating the glass cannon that is Jairzinho Rosenstrike and the complete fat lord that is Alexander Romanov. I don't. The problem with the under 1.5, it's like I just don't fucking know. Like if it happened 10 seconds after into round 2, would you be that fucking shocked? No, I really wouldn't. So I kind of get it now. I liked Volkov originally as like a parlay type thing, but like no, just no, especially at home. He's going to come out swinging. Volkov could catch him on a counter, him being stupid. That's totally fair. But we have to give credit where credit is due. And Sergey Pavlovich would have finished Alexander Volkov in round 1 as well. So, getting finished by Cyril Gahn, we can forgive. Other than that, the dude had been doing pretty well. So I begrudgingly take a dog chance maybe, but I kind of am like reserving picking a side still. I don't know. And I really don't even have a great prop for this. I think if I'm going to parlay anything, I'm just parlaying fight doesn't go. Like I'm going full chalkity chalk. This is a chalky card anyway, so what the fuck? Maybe Andrew can solidify some things for me and for the rest of us.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough fight. I think this is a tough card in general. I just want to say that like ahead of time. But in terms of Volkov versus Tuivasa, it's no question Volkov's a more skilled fighter. But you're playing. You'd be forced to play a minus 250 price tag here. When Volkov, like people don't talk about this often, but he's kind of been an inconsistent fighter over the last few years. You take a look at the Romanov fight and the Rosenstruck fight. Looked good. Before that, weird fight with Aspinall where he looked terrible. The Tibera fight, even though he won, I thought that was the worst he ever looked. I don't know if it was the travel to Abu Dhabi or what. I bet him very big against Tibera, and he won, but I was shocked at how he looked. I thought after that he was done. And he had that fight with Aspinall and then had a couple good ones since then. And it's funny too because the Gane fight, I thought Volkov looked great. Like Gane's one of the best strikers in heavyweight history from a technical perspective. Volkov went toe to toe with him for 5 rounds, and that was only a few months before he went out and looked super flat against Tibera. So inconsistent fighter, but definitely the more skilled fighter. Tuivasa, obviously, big hitter, pretty good striker, throws some leg kicks. His grappling is subpar, so if they somehow like fall on the ground, like that could be the fight. Honestly, like that's how I've pretty much capped every Tuivasa fight forever. Is if you get on top of him somehow, like that's probably the round, if not the fight. And then in regard to the total, it's funny because I always think of like all these bad beats I've had in my head. But one that stands out, I had Derek Lewis versus Tai Tuivasa. Everyone was on the under 1.5 there, and I was on the over 1.5 at like a solid plus number because my thought process was, look, both these guys are very live, especially Derek Lewis, to go out there and just have a staring contest. Because Derek Lewis can sometimes bring the low volume out of people because they're scared to engage with him. So there was a ton of clinch up against the fence. Over 1.5 was looking like bet of the year. No one hurt each other. Just a ton of clinch. Boring, boring, boring. This is going to go over easy. Then a minute away from the over 1.5, Tai hits Lewis, and Lewis just wanted out. And I was like, oh, my God. Now everyone who bet this under 1.5 at Big Chalk is acting like it's bet of the year, and I have to watch the parade while I'm sitting here holding an over 1.5 ticket at like plus 170 when it looked like minus 170, and that just always stands out to me. But yeah, I mean, from a betting perspective, I personally find this fight unplayable. I lean the over 1.5, like I said, or like you said, actually, Tuivasa very durable. Volkov might want to just look to stay on the outside and avoid these big exchanges. That'd probably be the smart thing to do. Maybe some push kicks down the middle from distance. On the screen, it shows how he has a 5-inch height and 5-inch reach advantage. He's going to want to look to utilize that here. So I'm taking Volkov for the win. I'll say either late stoppage or decision.
And that's like the other thing, right? It's like I kind of hate the over 1 or the under 1.5 because that 7.5 minutes could just go so fucking fast for no reason. And you just kind of, everybody knows what it feels like to just be holding that ticket. And it's like, okay, now get him. No, stop doing, no, get into, no. And they're just kind of like, don't like any of it.
It's truly you're finding a big money prop or taking the dog shot or passing. I can't recommend a super confident play on this fight. So we move along. Love you guys in the chat. Yeah, we did miss the Guru Monday. Very good question.
Yeah, I was out and about. I'm apologize. Had a buddy's 30th birthday, so couldn't.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Parlay piece under 1.5. I don't know if you should be parlaying anything in this fight. Shout out Daz. Volkov is really good with the distance, has advantages. And yeah, interested to see how they look at faceoffs. I know Tai Tuivasa hasn't really worked on his body shape at all. So we got our next fight. We got the flyweight matchup. It's Manel Kape, the star boy, versus Felipe Detona dos Santos. Minus 380 on Kape. We got Dos Santos, who had his Contender Series matchup canceled due to a weight miss from his opponent. They said, hey, guess who's missing an opponent on in Australia? You want to fight Manel Kape and get a UFC contract? So Felipe Detona said, give me some of that. I'm coming to the UFC. Manel Kape here, someone that I would trust more playing like an inside the distance overall if he didn't kind of play with his food sometimes, and he's like more of a counter striker, super safe. But like Felipe Detona, man, it's classic shoot that box. He's bringing the fight. It's going to be crazy. And I have the feeling that Kape finds a way to put his stamp on this thing decisively, whether by finish or just a 3-round shellacking. And I think that there's even the chance that we see the Manel Kape submission that's been so close to hitting, because Felipe dos Santos, he's going to be tough. Never been finished in his career. And I think, he's going to withstand the beating. But the question is, what happens as the fight gets later on? So I like Kape just in general. He's going to be the second leg of the parlay I have with Adesanya from earlier. It's a chalky card. You got to do what you got to do. I don't have a hammer for this fight, but I like Kape. And, you could even kind of fade the narrative here and look towards like a over 2.5 at plus money, because Felipe Detona never been finished, but traveling across the world here, short notice for a guy that's been preparing for this spot. I got to take Kape easy.
No, the UFC feels so fucking bad for Manel Kape that he's had a million fights canceled. They've tried to give him good matchup after high profile matchup, and nobody can pull it together in the flyweight division right now. So they basically give it to a guy that I wasn't even sure I was going to pick in his Dana White Contender Series fight. And that's basically it. The guy is, I don't think he's very good. I'm not even sure he's UFC caliber, and he's about to fight the fucking man. So problem with the man is he loves to play with his food. He will not put himself at any risk averse situation. And this kid is 22 years old, and while he throws himself out of position and leaves his hands down and has gotten rocked in a few of his fights, he's a young kid in good shape, and wouldn't surprise me if he still somehow survived. Also wouldn't surprise me if you saw Manel Kape throw a 900-piece combination like he did versus Damir Ismagulov and take him out. Not Ismagulov. Why did I just say that? Not Ismagulov. The other guy. Zhalgas Zumagulov. Fuck me. I'm an idiot. Thank you.
I will second that. You are an idiot.
Yeah, I had the coconut hair in my head. I just said the wrong thing. I didn't mean
He remembers how to drop the F-bomb 5 times every fight, but he can't remember Zhalgas Zumagulov.
Dude, you know what? I'm about to tweet right now. Like, literally cancel me, bro. Cancel me. That's coming. I really like Manel Kape here. I think he's a safe parlay piece at minus 380. I kind of almost like, I'm not even going to say it. I just like Manel Kape. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Kape deserved a sizable favorite here. He's just for me at least, just such a hard guy to lay price tags on, because although he is a very gifted fighter, again, kind of like some of the guys I mentioned already, sometimes he could just not do much. He could be low volume at times. He could end up on his back at times. You just don't want to, I'll speak for myself. I don't want to be laying price tags on guys like that. Obviously, Dos Santos comes forward. He's like that classic guy from that camp where like he doesn't look amazing in the regionals, and then he gets to the UFC and his head's bigger and he could just take a stupid amount of damage and he has cardio for days. It's going to be interesting. At only 22 years old, I think probably hope he loses this one dominantly and then get him in a buy low spot in his next fight. But yeah, I think Kape likely finishes, but also the way this it's I don't want to say like I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. The people from that camp seem to take uncanny steps up in terms of like physicality, cardio when they get to the UFC. And Dos Santos probably is going to do that as well. And he fits the mold. And I think he probably has some kind of future in the sport, but I think Kape is still too skilled for him here.
Yeah, I think all the intangibles, like some of the quickness and his striking acumen in general. Obviously, he's going to be well versed on the ground if he's training at shoot to box. So yeah, I just think he's too young. It's a little too much too soon.
Yeah, if they don't. It's quite simple. I think we beat that one to death. I love it. We're all in agreement, but be careful what you do. We got the bad man, Justin Tafa versus Austen. Stay in your lane. Minus 218 on Tafa, plus 180 on Austen Lane. The under 1.5 at minus 238. The over 1.5 at plus 180. I mean, Tafa here. Oops, he switched around their pictures, but yeah, Tafa's the 29-year-old that's 6'74" reach. So I'm the jackass this time. Then we got, Justin Tafa was getting hit to the body a little bit by some of those body kicks. But you could see that like the second they started to throw down in the pocket, once Austen Lane lost his distance, he had to resort to the eye pokes because he doesn't have a clean counter game in the pocket. He relies on using his size and ability to land big strikes at distance to take advantage. But the dude's gotten flatlined 3 separate times by competition. I mean, Greg Hardy is the best name of the names that he's been knocked out by. I think Justin Tafa is just going to continue that lineage, coming back, getting payback in his hometown for being eye gouged in both eyes. I mean, it was pretty terrible. That's probably half the reason they brought the cold compress back for the eye pokes now. But the question is, Justin Tafa, how long does it take? So I think once this fight does get in the pocket, it's Tafa easy, and it's going to be an early knockout. What do you got here, Guru?
The rematch that everybody's been clamoring for. We just didn't get enough. 30 seconds in, and Austen Lane wanted to finger fuck his eye so badly that, it was pretty fucking bad. One of the worst finger eye pokes we've seen in a very long time, probably since the Bilal Muhammad one. Like, really, really fucking bad. But they had to run it back. So if anybody was giving Austen Lane a shot, it was when he was in Jacksonville. But now to go to Justin Tafa's home to try to get it done, I don't see it. TB, did you have something to say? I thought I saw a finger. Anyway, you're trying to poke me in the eye, motherfucker. Keep those down. You better keep those closed. Yeah, exactly. That's fucked up, man. Yeah, man. Stay in your lane. Doesn't really have much of a shot. I didn't really when you saw those first 30 seconds, I mean, you see what he's just trying to do. He wants to keep him on the outside. He wants to kind of skirt around the cage and just kind of fire at the body. But the problem is his main problem. He dips his head everywhere. He has poor striking defense. He almost will put his face into punches at times. It's just very unimpressive. I was never impressed with what I saw from him on the regional circuit. You know what I mean? Losing to Juan Adams until Juan Adams decides that he can't go anymore. Just nothing really impressive there. Justin Tafa is actually a bod man. He's going to, I think, continue with his brother's momentum that they just got. And I do expect Tafa to get it done and by knockout and, fairly early. Do you feel any differently, Mr. Gombas?
No, not really. This fight's just an all-around pass for me. You've got Tafa, who's a bigger hitter, fought better competition, Lane longer, Is that right? That graphic's right? I thought Lane was longer than
No,
Tafa.
I fucked up.
Oh,
It was
okay.
a
I was like,
mistake.
am I going insane? I was like, I probably sound like an idiot right now. But yeah, you got Lane, who's longer, obviously athletic, but I just don't think he's too skilled MMA wise. And Tafa is also another one of those situations where, like Tuivasa, if they just fall over and ends up on bottom, like that could be the fight. So it's hard laying that kind of chalk on a guy like Tafa, but I'm picking him to get a knockout. Just bigger hitter, better striker and close, fought better people, but it's all around pass for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
Yeah,
it's kind of funny because I was looking, I put the little TB nickname up there because they didn't give me one for Austen Lane, but on his side, he has Stay True tattooed. For a second, I thought it said Stay in Your, so I thought my nickname was right.
That's solid. I like that.
Not bad. Thank you, Jew. See, this is a real fan of the show because he knows us from way back. It wouldn't be a show without the weekly TB screw up. So
yeah, but the problem with your new PowerPoints is you've started adding in your TB nicknames into the typing, which is nuts. Like you can't just write in like American Psycho Sean Strickland when that's not his fucking nickname. Like that's
right.
Like,
but UFC stats, if they're not giving me anything, I got to give them something. I'm not leaving it blank. You told me you wanted the nickname.
No, you're taking we've given you an inch and you're taking a mile, and then instead of making sure you've got people's size right, you're writing that somebody's got a nickname that they don't fucking have. How about that?
Well, in all fairness, they had Justin Tafa as like, the red corner, blue corner, whatever the guy on the left is. So I realized I had them on the wrong sides, but I never switched their info over the other way. So
you know what, man?
My mistake. All right. We have Tyson Pedro Martinez, one of the best pitchers ever, versus
one of the hardest hitting safeties in the league.
This is Anton Turkalj, the pleasure man. Guess which nickname is a TB nickname? That's how I'll put it. Okay. I bet you can't. Because it's not the pleasure man. But anyways, Pedro Martinez. Tyson Pedro.
This is nuts. Like you can't like try to glaze over the conversation and move on, and I have to look at it again. And it's the worst one of them all. This is unacceptable behavior.
It was terrible. That's why it's so good. Anyways,
no.
Listen,
I'm
Tyson Pedro has been like a minus 500 in his last 15 fights. Ike Villanueva, it made sense. Then what? He knocks out everyone's favorite. It was terrible. He finally moved up to heavyweight. What was Hunsucker, everyone's favorite. But anyways, Tyson Pedro, he throws an absolute stinker against Modestas Bukauskas in his last fight. And what we've seen throughout his career, Tyson
was that
Pedro
a joke? Was that a joke because he had diarrhea? He threw an absolute stinker.
There you go. See?
Look at you.
Yeah, so I'm doing my best out here, okay? I'm trying, all right? But Anton Turkalj, he's at least shown that he's got the grit to make it 3 if he's not fighting Jailton Almeida. And like Mr. Martinez, he hasn't really shown me that. So Tyson Pedro, there's a reason why he went from being a solid favorite back down to being the dog, now back near even money. I got Turkalj at plus 100 with a little sprinkle because I feel like the second this fight gets out of round 1, I mean, Turkalj, he's willing to use the clinch to work on his opponents. Vitor Petrino was on all of the gummies and vitamins going into that fight. And what can you even say about Jailton Almeida? But I think Turkalj is going to be able to use the clinch and his durability to his advantage. And I think Petrino hits way harder than Tyson Pedro. So that little whoopsie we saw at the end of round 1 for Turkalj, I don't think Pedro is going to be able to capitalize. I think it's going to be more, can he build off his leg kicks, land a few, like counters from the outside. It's just, I'm not necessarily impressed by any of the people that Tyson Pedro has been finishing early. Khalil Roundtree by submission. That's the path to do it. Paul Craig, round 1 knockout. That's the way to do it. Safirbek Sabarov, Ike Villanueva, Harry Hunsucker. I get it. It's just, he has been minus 400 in his last few fights. So there was a reason he was hyped up. What is he out at? City Kickboxing now? He's been training it somewhere different. So I got to give Pedro credit for at least trying to put in the work. I just don't think you can change who you are in that short a period of time from like a cardio and a heart perspective. I got Turkalj, and it's still sketchy because he's 0-2 in the UFC himself, and he had a dud of a Contender Series performance, just clinching and holding against the cage. But I think that can lead to the type of victory that we need against Tyson Pedro.
Without a doubt. I mean, Anton Turkalj has had a tough road. I mean, the road that he's taken to get here has been just totally unfair, right? He has a dud of the performance that you're talking about in Dana White Contender Series, doesn't get the contract, but they offer him a short notice opportunity up a weight class against the possible next title holder in Jalton Almeida. He's got a tough test in Curtis Blades we'll have to think about. But he gets smashed, absolutely smashed by Jalton Almeida. But like, why wouldn't he? That's insane. He was like a minus 800 favorite, 900 favorite in that fight. Jalton was. It was insane. And then somehow it's a pick'em fight versus Vitor Petrino. People didn't realize how good he was. We picked Petrino.
Oh my God! You remember my TV nickname for Vitor Petrino was Bobby Petrino?
I blocked this shit out of my memory because you're so fucking terrible. No, I love you.
Shout out college football. It's Bobby Petrino, baby.
All right. Good for you. All right, college football. Yes, it's back. I just don't really see like Tyson Pedro. He's got 9 wins. They're all round 1 finishes, and this guy's tough. So if you want, you take a grandma's couch cushion on Tyson Pedro round 1. Cool. But then you hedge every other. I mean, then you play everything else. I like the over 1.5 at -135. I think that's fair. I got in at Turkalj at plus money. So we have a plus 100 ticket on that. But I mean, at -115, I think is still kind of fair. I honestly like the over 1.5 even more than the not plus money, just because you know how I'm a slut for plus money. But I think Turkalj gets it done, and I think that he could upset Pedro Martinez. I don't like you. Gombas, can you take it away before I get even more mad?
Yeah, I'm a bit contrarian to you guys here. I like Tyson Pedro. I feel like I went into tape for this fight expecting to like Turkalj. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I'm just gonna call him the pleasure man. But I really hate his entries like on takedowns. I feel like he's a very poor technical wrestler. And Pedro is actually a pretty decent grappler. Like, I think a lot of people are looking at this fight and saying like, oh, if Pleasure Man gets him down, like Tyson Pedro is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, a Japanese Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He has submissions in his own right. He has way more UFC experience. I think he has like, let me count, 9 UFC fights. Pleasure Man has 2, and he's lost them both. Obviously, like you said, not going to really hold the gelatin fight against him, but he did fight Petrino. I was on Petrino also. He ate some huge bombs, so you can't deny that the guy has a great chin. But when it's a pick'em fight, is having a good chin really what you want to rely on? Like, I feel like Pedro's clearly the better striker. I think he has leg kick upside. Even like some of it, I get it. Look, Hunsucker and Ike Villanueva, not good wins. But if you go back a little bit further, like Paul Craig, Khalil Roundtree, Saperbek Safarov, like not bad wins. Obviously, he dropped fights to Oven St. Preux, Latifi, Shogun. Most recently, Bukowskis. I kind of like the buy low spot here after taking a loss to Bukowskis. And I get it that Pedro does have suspect cardio, but even if you look at that third round, like the strike stats were pretty close. Bukowskis landed 31 strikes, Pedro landed 25. I think the gap between them early in favor of Pedro is bigger than the gap between them late on for the pleasure man. So yeah, I'm taking Pedro Martinez here at pick'em price.
Can I ask you? Do you really want that? Would you really prefer the money line? Do you like your ticket at round 2? If it starts ding ding ding, fight starts round 2, like you still like your money line, Andrew? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it depends because I feel like Pedro is probably gonna whoop his ass in round 1, and even if he doesn't finish him, like let's give Pleasure Man the benefit of the doubt here. He's super durable. Like maybe he gets his leg chewed up in round 1, and he could come into round 2 being like plus 500 on the money line. And typically I personally, just the way I bet, I can only speak for myself. I don't really like the round prop stuff. Books have a big hold on them. You got to be real specific with it. I would rather take plus money or pick 'em price on the guy who I think is in my opinion, I think he's
Right.
a better striker. I think I know he's fought much better guys, besides Gel, he's had 9 UFC fights. You're getting a buy low spot on him after he dropped the ball as a heavy favorite. So yeah, I'm on Pedro here. I do think his grappling's being underrated. I do think that Pleasure Man's technical wrestling is being overrated. Like I look at that stuff pretty closely, and I feel like his enthusiasm to go for it is there, but I don't think the technique is there. I could see Pedro submitting him. I honestly think at least the first 2 rounds, I would think that Pedro's submission equity is actually higher than Pleasure Man's, which might be
I agree 100%, and I'm really glad you brought up the grappling point, because I do think that it's something that a lot of people are glossing over, that if he just simply lays on top, he's going to be fine. Tyson Pedro's submissions are 3 rear naked chokes, a guillotine, and a Kimura versus one of the best UFC fighters to ever grace the octagon, Sergey Safarov. I think the more and more we talk about it, though, Andrew, I really like the over 1.5, because I think Turkalj is tough enough to avoid getting taken out in round 1, and then I think it's kind of anybody's game. To all that point, though, Tyson Pedro round 1, which again, 9 professional wins, all round 1. Tyson Pedro in round 1, plus 340.
Wow. Yeah, I get it. There's a lot of value there, and I think it, to your point, Andrew, the fact that I'm looking at the clinch pushing cardio and willingness to kind of dog through stuff, the athleticism and like ability definitely lies on the Pedro side. I guess it's expecting him to collapse mentally. Expecting him to collapse mentally is the reason behind the plus money play, but I'm definitely not hammering it home. I'll tell you that. I like that over idea. And I think if anything, Turkalj decision line at plus 400 or Pedro submission at plus 500 could get you some solid value on props either way.
Real quick, just a quick story. I was looking at my Bet MMA record, and the first time I ever risked 5 units on a fight was Tyson Pedro over Safarov in February of 2018. And it's funny because he was a huge favorite, and I would literally never bet that now. But it won, obviously. And at the time, I'm like, oh, yeah, easy money. He submitted him early. And I'm like, all right. In retrospect, he was like minus 270. And Safarov's going to attempt a lot of takedowns over 15 minutes. And Pedro did get him out of there early. It's just funny, like looking back on it. I like so vividly remember it all these years later. That was like my first time like risking 5 units on a fight was Tyson Pedro. I'll always have the fond memory.
Look at that.
What an incredible thing that you were able to A, remember that, and B, that you've just been tracking bets obviously for so long that you're able to look at that. That's impressive shit.
Bro, I have a freak memory when it comes to the fight stuff. Like sometimes my friends will be like, who fought on like UFC 280 and like what bets did you have? And I'll just like rip them off just like that.
Yeah.
Or like they'll say like, oh, do you remember like the second time Adesanya fought Adesanya fought Pereira? Like, what were your bets on that card and like where were you? And I'll just like boom. Like,
I couldn't possibly remember that. That's impressive stuff.
Hey, if you guys haven't done so already, I could see you in the chat. There's more of you in there than have liked the video. Do the right thing. It costs you nothing and it helps us out a lot. Really appreciate it. And if you haven't done so already, once more, Mr. Gombas, make sure you check out his links in the description to follow all of his content. Awesome guy. So,
like and subscribe, yo. Get it up.
Do it up. All right. Next fight here. This is not TV messing up this time, okay? We got Carlos the Black Jag Ulberg versus Un Jung Siseda. I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. UFC Stats gave him a nickname. I'm going to use it. Carlos Ulberg at minus 270. Jung at plus 220. The over 1.5 comes in at minus 125. The under 1.5 is at minus 105. Right now, Ulberg, it just seems like the 2 biggest things that stand out in this matchup for me are his speed and striking defense. I think Jung has some power and he has some ability to get a little bit of clinch pushing and wrestling going. But I think Ulberg should be able to use his speed advantage to kind of stay on the outside and frustrate Jung with calf kicks and the ability to kind of stick and move. They both kind of like playing on the outside and being like from distance. I think Ulberg's first fight, ever since then, he's been a bit more measured in his approach, not quite unloading until, it's completely out of there. But yeah, I think that we could see them kind of tempt the over in this spot here. Ulberg, though, I like him. He's going to be the other piece of my parlay at minus 270. So I had Adesanya, Manel Kape, Carlos Ulberg. We got a party. We're having a good time.
And I'm with you on that parlay. I think the Black Jag gets it done. I think they're giving him a setup spot. I think the books know it. Carlos Ulberg's an explosive kickboxer, and Un Jung is just somebody that is way too willing to just stand and bang with you. And he's not nearly as fast, and he's not nearly as good as Mr. Ulberg. So I expect Ulberg to get it done. I kind of like the round 1-2 KO grouping prop. And yeah, why not? Why not? This is a chalky card, so let's eat some chalk. What do you think, Mr. Gombas?
Yeah, so I like this matchup for a number of reasons. Like, again, just talking about fond memories. The Un Jung fight last summer was like the fight that was my most famous bet, so to speak. I only made 2 max bets all of last year, and one of them was Dustin Jacoby over Un Jung, and the line was going against me. I've never, I never have that happen. Maybe 90. Maybe 3 out of every 100 bets I make, a line will go, probably less even, a line will go against me like that. And I just I just held the line. I just was adding and just increasing the position, didn't back down at all. And I was at that fight. And when Jacoby knocked him out in the first round, I was so happy. And everyone, by that point in the week, I was I wasn't talking shit, but I was confidently defending my bet all week. Which is funny because now I would literally just ignore everyone. But at the time, for whatever reason, I was I had the time, I guess, and I was just telling everyone why this line was crazy and the market was moving in the wrong direction. And yeah, that's a good memory. Obviously, Jung's dropped a couple in a row. The markets kind of reacted to that. He had some hype after the Kennedy fight. Ulberg, a guy I've cashed on a couple times in a row. Very good striker. I think now the market has adjusted to what he really is, but for a little while there, he was being undervalued in all of his fights. I think because he threw a zillion strikes against Kennedy and Zek Chukwu and didn't get him out of there and gassed. And so I think the market crazily overreacted to that. And yeah, I cashed on him a couple times, but this line seems right to me here. I don't want to lay a big price tag on him against Jung. Like I said, he has no grappling upside. He's a striker. Jung obviously has some pop in his shots. If anyone's going to get a takedown, it could be him. Just feels like a pass to me. I lean the over 1.5. I haven't bet it, but I do kind of think that Ulberg might take his time a little bit here. And obviously he's coming off a couple quick knockouts in a row. But I do think that was, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. I don't know how to say it other than bottom of the barrel competitions such as Potieria or however you say it, where I don't think Jung's necessarily at the bottom of the barrel, but I do think Ulberg's a big step ahead in terms of the striking, especially. So the pick is Ulberg. My lean's over 1.5.
I think it's an appropriate step up though for Carlos Ulberg. So you're looking for him to take the next step up in competition, and this is basically that, while still kind of mitigating his own risk in that Un Jung. Well, yeah, I mean he's got 11 KOs, but he's got a bunch of decisions here in the UFC, right? Well, he's got one versus William Knight actually, and then the Devin Clark. Which again, if you're not knocking out Devin Clark, that was a bad look. I picked Devin Clark in that fight. I think TB picked the other way, and then I know for a fact for the Dustin Jacoby one, I picked Dustin Jacoby, and a lot of people, including my buddy TB, were on Un Jung.
For the record, ended up with Jacoby, but decision only. So who was the idiot there?
That's even funnier.
But who was on our show that week was Mr. Andrew Gombas.
I was just gonna say, I feel like I
Yes.
remember talking to you guys about
Yes,
that.
Yeah.
100%. That's
we got brutalized though because I was on Misha Tate and fucking Brian Ortega, and that did not end well. But that was probably the best part of the night was Jacoby winning, and I was in Chicago, so I didn't even watch all of it. I'll never forget that.
Love that.
Good times. How did you fucking remember? How did you guys remember that? You guys are sick. I would have no clue.
Bro, I remember everything.
Yeah.
That's fucking sick. Oh my god.
All right. Here we go. We are on to our next matchup. We got Jack Farr Jenkins versus Chepe Machine Gun Mariscal. Minus 218 on the hometown boy Jenkins, plus 180 on Mariscal, over 2.5 minus 200, under 2.5 plus 154. This is probably one of my safest ideas for a fight goes the distance spot on the card. I know Chepe has been knocked out a few times, but have you seen the guys he's been knocked out by and what they generally do? You're talking about Steve Garcia, Joe Anderson Brito, and Gregor Gillespie was more of like a ground and pound type of dealio. So the question is Jack Jenkins going to use his offensive wrestling and top control to kind of justify his money line? Because from distance, Mariscal might have a little bit more volume, and he's probably going to come forward throwing a bit crazier. But I do like Jenkins' kind of defensive responsibility. I love his calf kicks. Talk about the fibula. He's broken many a time in his last few fights. But ultimately, I think Mariscal having to travel a bit. They're giving Jenkins a booking, in my opinion, that more kind of reflects the idea that he lost to Emmers than like he resoundingly beat him. You know, I know it was a split decision, it's controversial, all that. But from a UFC matchmaking perspective, I can't possibly say that Chepe Mariscal would be like a step up from the Emmers realm. I think Emmers is a better athlete, better wrestler, and even has a little bit of striking on his end. Mariscal is a bit talented overall, but he's not going to be the bigger guy in this matchup, and he's not going to have a huge reach advantage like Emmers did. So ultimately, I come back to the favorite here, not too confidently, but fight goes the distance could be part of a parlay for me. And I get the idea on the dog here. I've just seen Mariscal controlled by like some of the lowest level of wrestlers on the regional scene too. So it doesn't give me a ton of confidence. Like Sean Soriano was who specifically comes to mind. The fact that he's able to use offensive control, it lets me know that Jack Jenkins should be able to use his overall defensive approach to stay safe and not get finished and find a way to cruise it home here. But I think Guru might be on a different side than me. What do you got here, Guru?
Yeah, I'm on the dog here. I listen, it's so tough to pick against a guy in Jack Jenkins that has a ton of momentum, has this cool narrative that he's broken 5 out of 7 of his last opponent's legs with leg kicks. Like, he's a fucking beast. I get it. And he's at home here, so he doesn't have to travel across the world to get to this matchup. I just feel that, especially maybe I'm forcing a dog shot on a chalky card, but especially on a chalky card, I'm really taking a guy that I really should have taken versus Trevor Peek. I talked about it on the show. I was all about it. I said he's the better MMA fighter. He's got the grappling upside. If Trevor doesn't knock him out in round 1, it's a trouble. And it was exactly everything I said, but I still didn't get there, which is unfortunate. In this fight, I'm thinking if Jack can keep it standing the entire time and punish this guys with leg kicks, he's going to win a decision. But I don't really give Jack much. Maybe it's because, again, we've watched him have 2 decisions in the UFC, but I don't give him much finishing equity at all, really. And Chepe is a fucking savage. And I just watched Jenkins have a really poor hole, which, I mean, we've seen throughout his regional tape, which, let's just be honest about, Eternal MMA, not necessarily the best promotion. He has his own grappling deficiencies, and Chepe, like I said, is a fucking dog willing to fight for your money. Why not? Jack is not some undefeated prospect. He's been subbed twice. Chepe's got 3 submission wins. He's got underrated grappling, in my opinion, because he's so willing to be a crazy person and just fucking strike and go aggro. Jack is the cleaner striker. If it stays on the feet the whole time, he's the minute winner. But yeah, at the moment, I'm taking the dog, and I got a ticket, I believe. What did I send you?
You got a unit. You got a unit on Chepe.
Is it plus 180? It was plus 170 earlier. They must have moved.
DraftKings, you bet on a different book.
I did bet on a different book, but they were not at plus 180 earlier. So that's fair. It's a tough flight.
Well,
so
it dropped down to plus 170 now, so I think you moved the line.
Yeah, I definitely did. You know how I know I moved the line? Because I bet it on a different book. That's how I know. They saw that I brought Andrew on the show.
All right. Yeah, I was going to say, let's pass it to someone that actually moves lines. Andrew, what do you got in this spot here?
Yeah, so I've had a frustrating journey with Jack Jenkins here. Going into his Contender Series fight, I took which I almost never do. I'm very wary and tend to err on the side of caution in terms of hyping up prospects. And going into his Contender Series fight, I bet him. I said not only is he going to win tonight, he's going to get a contract. He's UFC ready. He could beat a lot of guys in the UFC right now. He wins on the Contender Series. He gets booked in the UFC. He's a massive favorite. It was unplayable, so he won. I didn't get to make any money on him. And then I'm like, whoa, he's pretty competitively lined with Jamal Emmers, who's really good, very underrated. And I think Emmers is a nightmare matchup for him. And I bet Emmers very big against Jenkins and lost the split decision in a fight where I was literally not even worried going into the decision, which it just sucks. Because to be right about the prospect, to be right about the time to bet him, to right about the time to pass, to right about the time to fade him, and just lose all the money on that one spot, just was devastating. And here, I sorry for the sob story, but I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say, to your point, those first two rounds were absolutely as close as anything could be. It should have absolutely been 1-1 going into round 3. Emmers is a favorite going into round 3, a live money favorite, and that's the clearest round of them all, and he wins it. Why? Yeah. And by the way, I picked Emmers too, so I didn't bet. I probably bet 1% of what you did, but I was pissed.
Yeah, bro. I remember watching that, and I was like, all right, round 1 was pretty 50-50. It wouldn't surprise me either way. Round 2, I think probably Emmers, pretty clear Emmers.
So
and then round 3 was clear as day Emmers. And I'm like, all right, cool. It'll probably be 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, that was a big swing. I'm trying to remember the exact amount, how much of a swing that was, if you want to get a little grossed out. That was probably a 10 to 12K swing.
No.
Yeah.
Oofa.
Sucks. But yeah, anyway, about this fight, I think Jenkins is the rightful favorite, but Marisal's a dog. He's coming down a weight class. He was up at 155, beat Trevor Peek, did what he had to do. Comes from a wrestling background. On the feet, I think Jenkins is the better technical striker. He has that leg kick upside. And like I said, I've been higher on Jenkins than most have. I was high on him from the beginning. I think it's a relatively competitive fight, but I think Jenkins gets it done. I don't think he has the margins here to justify laying a big price tag more than -200. But again, I'm picking him to get the win. I would slightly lean to the under as well, just because I think Marisal's kind of reliable to come forward and force a fight. But again, not a strong feeling there either.
Yeah. Amen. And
do you
get it.
Do you think there's some value on the under 2.5?
That's my lean. I would, if I was forced to bet a total side here, that's where I would go. But I don't think I'm passionate enough to pull the trigger.
Fair enough. I think I agree with that sentiment completely.
So we move along here. Really appreciate all you guys in the chat. Make sure you're letting us know what your best bets and thoughts are on the card. And if you haven't already, do the right thing. Throw a like. Please subscribe. So close to 500 subscribers. So make sure you're a part of the magic. Here we go. We're back at it. It's Jamie, a bunch of Malarkey versus John the Bull Makdessi. If the UFC stats is not going to give me a nickname, I'm going to do it. So don't even say it, okay?
No.
It's a bunch of Malarkey. What do you want?
This is a bunch of Malarkey. You are a bunch of Malarkey. This is ridiculous.
All right. So -265 for a bunch of. plus 215 for
He
the
should be
bull.
like Jamie Children of the Corn Malarkey, like that. Like he just no.
What? No, what's cleaner when you're children of the corn? No. You're a bunch of malarkey right now. So, anyways, minus 265 for someone that's consistently shown us he likes to get in exchanges in the pocket. While he's got the Volkanovski light feint game, he doesn't have the striking defense at all, and he doesn't have the chin. Malarkey, he definitely has the offensive technical ability. I'd say he's a high-level kickboxer offensively. He even has the wrestling to mix in when necessary. It's just, how do you trust him to do it on a consistent basis when he doesn't? And when he does, he doesn't even hold the top control time enough, or at least as much as you'd like. I really think that if this does stay on the feet, it's going to be way too close. It's just, when you look at the size differential, you look at Malarkey in his home country here and not having to make the trip, and also 9 years younger. Generally, when you get that 9-year age gap, if you have like a 30-year-old versus a 21-year-old, I'm leaning towards the 30-year-old. But if you have the 29-year-old versus the 38-year-old, as you can see, I'm leaning towards the guy in his prime each time. So Malarkey, I really think he just ends up gritting out a decision. Very tough to put away Makdessi, but I think Malarkey is going to mix in enough of the top control, and I think Makdessi is not the same type of power striking threat that Malarkey has faced recently. Also, we've seen Makdessi dropped recently. I mean, even Nasrat, lands a knockdown, gets a couple takedowns, but those takedowns only last for 35 seconds of total control time. So I think it's going to be closer than it should be. I can't recommend you lay chalk on Malarkey, but he is the official pick.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of where I had come away with it. It was exactly deciding that. It was like, is Malarkey going to skate through this with a decision, or is a dog play in order? And I ended up coming away with that Malarkey is going to win a decision that's, that is not warranted of a minus 265 price tag. He's going to give Makdessi the exact kind of fight that Makdessi thrives in, which is a straight up boxing. His ability to, kind of move out of strikes ways, counter. That's just what Makdessi does. It's classic. He stands straight up. He stands right in the pocket. It's what he likes to do. Malarkey is somebody who has shown at least a decent grappling game, but really doesn't use it enough. And Makdessi's shown that he's hard to kind of control in that realm through his kind of long UFC career at this point. Malarkey gets put out as a minus 600 favorite in his last fight, and I think that's problematic. I think a lot of people are a little sketched out. I mean, me included, are sketched out on it. At the same time, he's still a minus 265 favorite. So maybe they're not sketched enough. I think he just got caught clean. But again, he's somebody that if you want to lay that price tag on him, you're hoping that he gets a finish. And he's just somebody that wins with accumulation of damage. And Makdessi's made a career off having great defense and hurting you with counters. And Malarkey has made a career off of being reckless and giving it as good as he gets it. So if he's not smart in this fight, Makdessi could be, instead of the bull, which is fucking hysterical, he could be the matador and just punish the bull in Jamie Malarkey, who continues to try to press forward and get frustrated. Because somebody in Nasrat has so much better defense than Malarkey. It's like, I would put Nazarat's defense as a positive about him, whereas I put Jamie Malarkey's defense as a negative about him. So it's a totally different matchup. But like TB said, the age and the size and the home field advantage is like, might just be a little too much for me to get there, is where I was just kind of how I ended up. So yeah, a lot of talking for a decision. What do you think, Mr. Andrew Gombas?
Yeah, I'm with you here. You got Malarkey, who size, age, activity, wrestling upside, but also coming off getting knocked out. Makdessi obviously is old, but he's been inactive for a while. He's fought once a year only, every year since 2019. Like, that's pretty crazy. Like, that's got to be one of the most inactive fighters on the roster in the last 4 years. Again, coming towards the end of 2023, I doubt we'll have another fight this year. What's that?
Paulo Costa. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah, right in the same boat. It's Paulo Costa. But yeah, I mean, I'm picking Malarkey here. He's just never the kind of guy I'm going to lay this kind of big price tag on. So I'll keep this one short and sweet.
Somebody needed to, so thank you.
Love it.
Wasn't
Great.
gonna be me.
Oh my God! Look, it's just who we were talking about. It's Nasrat Kelvin Gastelum Haqparast.
You could no, you can't.
He doesn't have a nickname.
You might as well be TB then. It looks like you, because you
Exactly.
all look like each other.
I should have put that. Damn it. That would have been even better. Next time. Next time, Kelvin,
No,
Nasrat,
next time maybe
Andre
just kind of
Arlovsky.
leave it as nothing.
No, I'm not going to do that. Unless you do the slideshows, it's going to happen. So, versus the Lone Wolf, Landon Quinones. Shots fired, minus 470, Nasrat Haqparast. The Lone Wolf at plus 360. It's never easy when you're fighting TB and you're coming off tough where you get subbed in round 1 and you don't really have a lot of experience. And they're like, hey, but we'll sign you to the UFC if you fly to Australia on short notice and take on Nasrat Haqparast.
I still don't understand it. It's still it makes he
Because
must have a he
they're
must
gonna
have
cut
an
him
inside.
after.
This makes no sense. They have so you know how many lightweights there are in the world? You know how many people they could have signed? Why? I don't get it. Somebody has to know.
Are we tempting fate? Because Daz,
Could you imagine?
Hold on, I'm passing this off. Gombas, Andrew, what do you got here? What do you think?
Bro, I don't got much here, honestly. I feel like Haqparast is just, I mean, the difference in the level of competition they've fought is astronomical. Haqparast has fought guys like Dan Hooker and Quinones. His best level of competition was Jason Knight on Tough, and he got finished early. I feel like Haqparast probably finishes this fight. I know he hasn't finished a lot of fights in the UFC, but again, he's fighting guys like Makdessi, who's just like a better level than Landon is. Like he's fought Makdessi. His last 3 wins are Makdessi, Rafa Garcia, and Alex Munoz, who I think are all better fighters than Quinones here. I think he probably gets a finish mid to late. And I think the big price tag is justified.
I mean, I just was not impressed with anything I saw from Quinones on the regional tape. He beats up this guy, Yemi Oduwole. I mean, that guy doesn't have it, man. Landon is throwing these unprotected blind leg kicks. He gets subbed in 50 seconds by the decrepit Jason Knight, who's like 30 years old, but in fight time is 69 because he's fought BKFC. He's main evented UFC a million years ago. Like, it's just ridiculous. And like I said, Nasrat's somebody who, it's funny, he basically fights similarly almost once a year, and maybe closer to twice a year. He's a twice a year kind of guy. And again, look at who he debuts against. He debuts against Marcin Held and then has to fight Mark DeCasey. Like, he's fought the names of the names out there in the lightweight division. And they're not making him travel too far. I just think it's a setup spot. I thought he was one of the safest parlay pieces of the card. I just don't see, because you have to KO him. And I just don't, Landon doesn't have power like that. He does on the regional circuit. It's just, like I said, I really wasn't impressed with what I saw.
Amen. I mean, got to take TB's doppelganger all day here. Throw him in the parlay. He could be a piece. There you go. If you're getting sketchy, I didn't know how to handle this one. He's Blood Diamond, but he's also Mike. So, I mean, did I do it okay? Is this? And then we got Chuck Buffalo, Charlie.
What actually would have been funnier there is if you put his real name, like the full name, Michael Mathitha, in parentheses, because that would be his nickname of Blood Diamond. Like, that would have been funny.
Fair enough. Fair. Touche. A little editorial insight is always valued. But we got Blood Diamond here plus 250. Chuck Buffalo minus 310. And I was like, all right, great. If Chuck Buffalo is going to get in there, wrestle it up, use some cardio, do that, great. Minus 310, let's go. I mean, I think he's got some skills. I just don't trust that he's going to do it on a consistent basis. Blood Diamond is kind of like one of those meme guys, though, from a fight. Like, what was it? The double spinning back fist that landed in the fight against Orion Kosi in his last one. They like both throw spinning back fists and land. I'm like, yeah, it was it was very comical. But he does like a solid job stuffing takedowns using his athleticism at first. It's just once he gets on the mat, there's no real layers to his jiu-jitsu game. So unless that's seriously changed since the Jeremiah Wells fight where he gets choked out with absolutely zero hooks in, but it's like Kosi isn't really able to get any active, consistent like ground control time or anything.
He's Orion Kosi.
Exactly. But Chuck Buffalo, like, what am I supposed to take him at minus 310 flying across the world here to fight, Mike?
Yeah, I think so. He's a Dana White. I don't know. He's a Dana White Contender Series guy. He's on an upswing. He's got the better strike. I mean, sure, Blood Diamond's a technical kickboxer, but Chuck Buffalo is somebody that stalks, walks forward. He'll circle outside of the cage. He is decent in his own scrambles. Like, he's willing to just kind of put pressure on you, and then he hits really fucking hard. And his record's misleading. He's got 3 losses, but those were all at lightweight when he's cutting too much weight. He's undefeated since moving to welterweight. I think Blood Diamond is on his way out. He didn't look – I couldn't find anything good about any of his wins previous to the UFC. And, he just hasn't – he's coming to the UFC. You could even write off the Jeremiah Wells loss because that dude's a fucking stud. But Orion Kosi is absolutely, positively unforgivable. It's just really bad. He couldn't even really hurt him with the striking. I mean, Orion Kosi runs into a million strikes, so that's why he gets hurt. But it's just like he couldn't finish him. It was bad. So I think Chuck Buffalo has a really nice camp in MMA Masters, and I just think he's ready. I think you're getting rid of the. I think they're done with Blood Diamond. That's what I think. I think he's a hometown guy, and that maybe you're starting to promote this new guy with by using his name and getting rid of him. What do you think, Mr. Gombas? I get that the line maybe is a little wide.
Yeah, it's a big number, but I do think that Radke's justified favorite, solid favorite here. Obviously, the grappling upside, Blood Diamond, not much of a grappler. He's an okay striker, okay kickboxer. I wouldn't say he's a good one. I think their levels are relatively similar on the feet, but just when you have that much top time upside like Radke does, to me, the line makes sense. I don't really have a lean in terms of over-under. I guess I would slightly lean to over, but it's just throwing a dart at that point. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I think the straight pick, I gotta take Chucky, but I'm not putting him in the parlay.
The thing with Chuck is that he's not like an outright wrestler that you would want to see here. But when they get close, or if they push up against the cage, or if anybody stumbles, falls to the mat, if there's any reason to be on the mat at all, he's on it like white on rice. And you saw it in his CFFC title win. So.
Fair enough. Yeah, if it gets there, there's going to be it. Oh, yeah. Love that. The GOATs going to the CFFC events. All right. We got Shane Smokin' Young versus Gabriel Fly Miranda. Minus 166 on the Shane Young side. Plus 140 Miranda. Over 2.5 at plus 130. Under 2.5, minus 166. I can't bring myself, like, even though I know Gabriel Miranda is like basically a one-round fighter from his finishing. He's very aggressive in the way that he gets to wrestling and striking, and he doesn't look like it's almost like Derek Minner style, if I had to best describe it. But anytime he gets taken the distance, it's because he's losing. It's just against Shane Young, I can't trust him as a favorite at this stage. I know he's only 30. It's just in a couple of his recent appearances, he just doesn't look like the same guy that is absolutely beating up the low-level competition that he's facing in his first few UFC appearances. And even when he does finally, get his like one UFC finish, it comes in round 3 with like 20 seconds left in the fight. So Rolando was it round 2? Oops. But I just think he's not going to be able to accumulate the damage quickly on Miranda here, because I feel like Miranda is going to at least get him down to the mat in round 1. So I think if you are going to take Shane Young, look to take him live. But I really can't condone playing him before the fight here. I think Miranda, you have to go ahead and take like a round 1 sub prop or a round 1 finish prop for Gabriel Miranda. Him showing up on short notice to fight Benoit Saint-Denis and even landing the takedown that he
Up
does.
a weight class.
He's got impressive wrestling ability. So I had to take a little dog shot just because it's against smoking Shane Young. And I think he could be fully smoked by this point, is the thought.
You already took it. Fuck you. You took it right out of my mouth. That's what I'm saying. I think Shane Young is somebody who is fully smoked. And you look at, who he lost to in Blake Builder, another CFFC guy, but he came out versus Kyle Nelson and just laid an absolute dud of a performance. So you have to wonder, where either of them are actually at. Shane Young could easily, continue to get out volumed, but Gabriel Miranda is somebody who comes forward with complete crazy reckless abandon and has a legit wrestling and grappling upside here. So again, in a very, very chalky card, am I maybe forcing a dog shot? Fuck, I might just be, but I'm taking Gabriel Miranda here. Shane Young struggles to stuff takedowns, and he struggles to get up even more. I think when he tries to get up, he's going to put himself in a bad spot, and I think that's the end of Shane Young's UFC career. So give me a crazy dog shot on the much bigger, taller anyway, Gabriel Miranda, who, again, can't take anything from him. He's a fucking grappler that flew out to France on short notice to fight up a weight class against the god of fucking war. Are you kidding? Like, you can't out grapple that fucking guy. Like, are you nuts? So, yeah, go ask Thiago Moises. So, Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, this is a tricky fight. I mean, Shane Young, more proven cardio, better striker, better defensively. His durability seems like it's starting to go a little bit. Miranda's sloppy, but he can crack. Good jiu-jitsu. I'm staying away. I don't trust this fight at all, really. I would lean under. I think someone finishes. Yeah, under is probably the way to go. If I were forced to make any bet on this card, it would probably be the under. But from a pick perspective, I guess I'll very unconfidently pick Shane Young. Like, I would never lay any kind of price on him, but you put a gun to my head, I think he's going to win. But yeah, 3 losses in a row. The durability seems like it's out the door. No, thank you.
I think you make a good point in that the fight's kind of binary in how it happens. I think if it's under 1.5 rounds, right? I really do think under 1 round, really. I think it's Gabriel Miranda. And I think if the fight plays out really anything over 1.5, I think Shane Young, would be the minute winner on the feet, so to speak. So, yeah.
Amen.
Tough fight.
All right. We move along. We have we have Kevin Ayers Jusset versus Kiefer Big Daddy Crosby. Minus 155 Jusset, plus 130 Crosby, over 2.5 at plus 105, under 2.5 at minus 135. I feel like Jusset, did they finally get a listing on any of his like height and reach? Because looking for it earlier in the week, don't see absolutely anything. Yeah, they got 6'2", 75-inch reach just listed on UFC stats versus the 5'11", 70-inch reach of Kiefer Crosby, the boxer, heavy on the front foot, psychopath who loses to like an 80-year-old on Bellator by finish. Oh, well, Dr. Stoppage, that is. But, the dude was being wailed upon. And I think Kevin Jusset here has feints and he has calf kicks. And I think that's going to be enough to take down Kiefer Crosby. As long as he survives the initial onslaught, Jusset should roll here. Kiefer Crosby is going to be the much smaller guy, and I just don't think he's really good. I don't think Jusset is great, but, the city kickboxing guy versus the guy flying, Big Daddy guy that took a boxing match in his last fight for like a promotional I don't think he's fully an MMA well-rounded prospect, where at least I think Jusei can kind of mess around in all areas. So I got to go Ayers Jusei. But God, if you bet this fight, this is the epitome, I believe.
I honestly felt I don't know why
after
this
I
is
found
on
out.
I don't know why this is on the pay-per-view. I don't know why it's in UFC. Like this is like lower than like lower than Dana White Contender Series level. Like I was shocked at what I was looking at. I didn't really like either guy. I mean, listen, if it was on Dana White Contender Series, that's fine. But to be here is insane. I felt that Kiefer Crosby is actually a better boxer and would do better in boxing than maybe he would at all in MMA. I didn't really like how he mixes it up and deals with the wrestling. Kevin Jusei, again, not somebody I really liked what I saw on tape either. But at the same time, given all this size advantage that he's, I thought he had coming in, but now that we know for sure, you got to at least pick him. But I think, like you said, TB, this is not something I'm looking to have any action on. I'm going to save my money for for some football. Let's go. What do you think, Mr. Gombas, for the final time?
Yeah, this is an interesting fight. Not really, but I do think it's going to be fun from a fan perspective. Like both these guys bang it out, especially Crosby. I think if anyone has grappling upside, it's probably Crosby. He's fought a better level of competition. You guys made the point that Giuseppe's definitely bigger. I think he's probably a little bit better put together technically on the feet. But, I mean, going to a split decision with like a random 40-year-old on the regionals definitely isn't a great look. Crosby gets hurt in every single fight. He at least has a good win in his last fight against a former UFC guy. I'll very unconfidently pick him. I think under's a solid look if you want to bet this fight. Just both so bad defensively. And Crosby's going to force the fight. So I'll very, very timidly pick Crosby.
Fair enough. I can't blame you for any leaning in this fight. I hope I don't see an official play from you. Just, on this one at least.
That's fine.
Yeah, no, listen, I will be fighting Guru tooth and nail to make sure I don't have an official play on anything Chronic Combat this week on this. So, but the pick is Jusei. Please, we made it. You guys are amazing in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Makes what we do so much better when we have the input of this amazing community. Want to say also thank you to Andrew Gombas for joining us today. If you're not already watching the Magic and Andrew MMA betting show, they'll be going live tomorrow night. 7:00 is the normal time on Thursdays. Hilarious show, unbelievably funny, and two of the sharpest guys in the game. So thank you, everybody involved. And please, we're on the countdown of 500 subscribers. So please make sure you do the amazing thing for us. And what's free for you? Why not? So, Andrew, any final words before we pass the torch to the Guru here to close us out?
No, thank you guys for having me. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And hopefully we can do it again soon.
Seriously, Andrew, thanks so much for coming on, man. We literally love having you on. Love hearing the insights, chopping it up with you. It was too bad that we were both at Prudential. We didn't get to meet up, but hopefully one of these fight days we'll get to grab a beer and chat some fights up. But
would love to,
yeah. Sounds like a good idea to me. But maybe I just like to drink. Guys, if you haven't subscribed already, please like, subscribe, share it around. We really appreciate it. We're on that climb to 500. We're getting so close. So if you can help us in any way, we really, really appreciate it. We do it all for you. It's always free, always with the best guests. Make sure you're following my unbelievable co-host, TB Scouting MMA, on Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology. You can follow me, the Guru Scouting MMA, Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology. Man, we are in the midst of this crazy, crazy UFC run. We'll be back, and I'll be there next Monday for our Dana White Contender Series show, 9 p.m. And then we're going to follow that up with an unbelievable Mexican Independence Day celebration with a card, non-pay-per-view with a title fight on it. Alexa Grasso defending her belt against Valentina Shevchenko, we're going to bring on none other than Daniel Levy, best fight pick. So can't wait for that one. Be sure to tune in. And 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Take care.